Hello and welcome to another Demis Hellen tutorial. This video we're going to look at this bass beef that has been made in Serum. It's something new that I've just made. It's for a current track that I am building. So I am going to share this with you, even though it is part of an actual track that I'm building. So I always share stuff, so why not? So let's have a listen to what it sounds like. We have two oscillators. This one is mirrored on the wavetable, so I've chosen a mirror there, and then I've just set the position where I like the sound. We have this at -1 octave and this -2, so we get a really gritty sound. So we get this. Alright, so what is happening to the sound? So I've got it set to mono. We don't have any detune on there. It says it there, but there's no detune. Doesn't matter where it's set. We have the sub oscillator supporting the low end. So I have -2 octaves on that one, and I've kept it on the sine. And then we have a noise generator, just to give it a little bit of, it's kind of a bit of presence because it's a main focus in this track. So you might be able to just hear it, which is that. So I just want it to poke through the mix a little bit on the sections where it'll probably get lost. And then all I've got on here, LFO2, we have one of the preset side chains on there, so we get that kind of and what is controlling this here, let me just double, it is envelope 3. So this is the envelope setting which controls this from this point to this point, so it filters it in, but not all the way. It's kind of to a point where it sounds good for me. So that shape is just every time it's re-triggered, every time the bass sound hits, and controls the frequency there. Okay, so that is pretty much it for everything set here. I haven't set any macros yet. I probably will do at some point, but this bass is static in this track. So on the effects, we have it going through some distortion. So I have picked diode 1. I've rolled off some of the top there, and I've just balanced the drive and the mix to taste. So let's have a listen to the sound without any of these on. Just the, well, let's listen to it without anything on. There are some insert effects on the channel as well. So this is with distortion. Just has a bit of grittiness to the bottom end. And then the EQ, what I've done here is boosted the bass quite dramatically and some of the top to make it a bit more crispy and give it some real weight on the bottom end. So without. Okay, and then obviously there's a lot of spikes in there and it's quite nasty on the ears, especially with the white noise. So I've added some quite strong compression there with a high ratio, quick attack, fairly slow release there, and a bit of gain increase, just to control that top end. Okay, and that is it. This is just showing you where I've got things connected, just via this front part. So there is a little bit of oscillation as well. I should have added on the levels here. So I think I've got the LFO, yeah. So I've got the LFO affecting the levels there for the pump compression. And then a slight bit here on the sub, and that's about it. So that's the preset out of the way. I've got those 3, and I've reorganized so the compressor is at the end of the chain there. You just move them about here. So that is now at the end. So let's take a look at what's happening on the inserts. So we have a lot going on here. So I was trying to develop the sound so the bass wasn't so powerful and taking the headroom up to actually silence the top end. Because if you have too much of the bass, it just overpowers the track, takes all the headroom, and that's it. Your track's pointless till you get that set right. So finding the balance was a bit tricky, because I don't usually go for this sort of weight in tracks. So this one is actually just for here. So what I've got is a band pass here, which keeps this sound like this for the start, and then as it filters in, it boosts to brighter, because it's quite, this is what I'm on about, the headroom. The bass takes up some of the headroom here, so I boost this section just to make it poke out a little bit, ready for further processing. So as you can hear, okay, so if we move this out of the way, it just has that little bit more presence, and keeps it on top of the kick drum. So next we have Fat Maker. I don't know if I've already put the review up at the time of this video. I'm still messing around with it, but it's a very nice little piece of kit. I think it was £30 in the sale, I think. So I got it a bit cheaper, but it's a really good little plugin for boosting sounds, making them sound really fat, hence it's called Fat Maker. So let's have a listen to it before and after. So before and after. So what it's doing is just adding a little bit of top end here. I've cut a little bit of top end off and cut a little bit of the bass off. Obviously it's drowned out by the fact that I've got all the rest of these on. So let's just turn all these off. Okay. So let's have to listen to it bypassed. So it's just boosting it just a little bit, just add a bit of fatness. Next in the chain we have the Fab Filter Saturn. So if you look at the individual bands, I've marked this out from the default setting. I've lowered, well, I've boosted the volume here slightly. This is taken down, but I've also boosted the presence and treble just a little bit, just to give it a bit of a ramp, because I like those sounds. Here I've boosted this whole kind of mid section up to the presence, and then this section I've just boosted here in volume and in just kind of the tone of it. So let's have a listen to it now. So it adds a little bit to that mid-range section. Not too drastic, because I knew that was going to do a little bit of extra processing after. So next in the chain we have the compressor. Alright, so I've gone really heavy again with this to make sure it's all under control, because if you just let it flap around in the track, you're going to have some serious problems later on when you start to build things together. It's alright on its own, and maybe with a kick drum, with a bit of processing it'll be fine, but later on in the track you're going to run into problems, so you need to get it leveled out properly at the beginning. So this is on the classic setting, and I've just got a fairly high ratio, fairly high threshold there. Quick attack, quick release, and I've put it more to the hard knee. So before and after. So it just lets some of that mid-range come through again, just a little bit more. So I'm adding it bit by bit into the track. Kickstarter is obviously just putting a bit of side chain on there to tame it down for the actual processing with the kick. Okay, and then finally we have another EQ on the end, and this is where I've controlled the bottom end. This is kind of where I've balanced the mix out with the kick, pushed a bit of the side channel out here and just boosted the top. So before, so quite a lot of bass in there. Okay, and that's it for the processing. It's not going through any bus tracks yet, But what it does sound like with the kick is this. Now I tame the kick down so I can add and reintroduce a bit of this. So that's quite nice, it sits nicely there. The kick drum had a little bit of flap on the end, which I removed, so the tail off of the kick wasn't actually there no longer, thus making the bass sound a little bit thinner. So added some back in there just so you can see how things are being built. I'll just quickly show you the kick drum here. What was happening was this was up here. So I'm not going to move it because I don't want to lose my settings, but this was up here, so it's creating kind of a boom whoop on the end. So I've removed that on the sub oscillator. And that's it. That's the patch. I didn't think there was anything else. Yeah, there was no bus track on that at the moment. I might revisit when I've gone through the bus track and added maybe a couple of extra bass sounds in there that fill in some of the gaps, because at the moment it's very kind of clockwork at the moment. So let's just have a listen to the track in its entirety. So this is with the hats, claps and some percussion. So some heavy processing on the claps there. So maybe I could look at that in a future video. This track's building pretty quickly, so I could do a few more tutorials on this. And then the melody here, which kind of drops into that, I'll give you a listen to that now. This is also made in Serum. So I envisage the next section, I'm going to have this kind of breathy sound, female breathy sound that's going to have a huge reverb on it, and it's just going to tail off for ages, very similar to an earlier track that I did, so I can start building some space around it. This lead at the moment is very centered, so I'm going to aim to just kind of push the mid, just use the mid inside to kind of push it out and filter it through the stereo field a little bit more, give it a bit of depth. Yeah, and that's it. So we can have a listen to this bit where it's got no bass on, so this is the intro. And then this is where we're going to probably have the first instance of the bass before the tune comes in later on. Some effects rising up and really like kind of push it into that section. So that is everything. You can find this preset in the description. Just head over to my Facebook, free downloads, and you'll find the preset. And thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and follow me on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. That's where I spend most of my time. You'll probably find more stuff on Facebook at the moment. That's just how things are. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.